Hi, folks. This is Rhee with the Paw Print Animal Rescue Podcast. Before we get to the amazing Katie Krimitsos, just wanted to let you know that we are giving away a copy of Forces of Nature, the book by Graham Spence, featuring Joanne Green and Penny Cons. Simply sign up for our email list. Go to thisispawprint.com/ask, sign up, open up our weekly email when you receive it, and that's your ticket to play. Simply go to thisispawprint.com/ask. We also wanted to mention that since we interviewed Katie Krimitsos, one of the two birds she talks about, Charlie, the African gray, died about a month ago. Pretty heartbreaking for Katie. She wrote a very heartfelt Facebook post. So with Katie's permission, we're going to share a little bit about her thoughts on Charlie. It starts like this.
My heart is broken. We found out last night that our Charlie bird died while we were gone. Total freak accident that quickly dimmed his beautiful light.
I bawled my eyes out, and it made for a bittersweet return.
Charlie was our second kid. We got him a few weeks after we got married 5 years ago. He was quiet, kind, and full of personality. He could mimic sounds perfectly.
Just a few weeks after my new neighbor moved in with her dogs, he all of a sudden started barking. He loved biting everything. Pens, electrical cords, keyboard keys, chopsticks, my fingers if they got in his face when he didn't want to be bothered. I chose not to eat meat shortly after we got Charlie because I couldn't imagine consciously participating in anything that would bring so much torture and pain to other souls like him. About a year after we got him, Charlie accidentally flew out of the house and we lost him in the neighborhood trees overnight.
It was terrifying, but against all odds, we found him the next morning, and he flew down to us, grateful he was with his flock again.
He was a stud, full of confidence and determination I've rarely seen in any being. He wasn't cuddly, but always wanted to be on my shoulder or on my leg while I worked. The rare times he did let me love up on him and pet him were amazing moments of bliss and connection. When Sedona was born, he knew immediately there was another beautiful soul in the house. He respected her space in our lives and looked forward to eating out of her hands in the morning.
He was a beautiful being. Mountains of loving personality packaged in a tiny feathered body. He will always have a special place in my heart, and our family will forever be incomplete without him.
Thanks to Dr. Christine Chang Lim and Carrie Joost for reading Katie's words. Rest in peace, Charlie.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community. Episode 127. I'm Nancy Rhee.
And I'm Rhee.
Today's special guest is Katie Krimitsos.
The power of social media is that it gives you access to a ton of people globally, but it also gives you the power to connect really intimately on a one-on-one level with people. And that's to bring people into your story, to bring people, to get them interested in what you're doing and to get them loyal to what you have going on.
Katie Krimitsos is the host of Biz Women Rock, a very popular business podcast. She shares about ways that you can leverage Facebook for your own business, for your own animal rescue. Along with that, she shares a little bit about her family, including her baby daughter. If you want to learn more about Katie, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/127. That's the number 127.
My daughter is about 18 months old. So yeah, it has been the most satisfying and the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life to manage being a mom and being the kind of mom that I really want to be. And all of the other things that are really important to me. So like this whole little business thing that I have, like you and I as podcasters, you're doing this cool like social media series. And I am actually doing a Mompreneur series right now just because it's so interesting to me to pick the brains of women who have done it really successfully according to what they consider successful. Like they have managed this thing called business that they're really passionate about, and they've managed this thing called motherhood that they're really passionate about. So yeah, it's been really good. I have to say I have grown and evolved so much in the past year and a half out of sheer necessity, but it's been just an amazing ride. I definitely have a group of women who are mompreneurs, who are, mothers, whether they're new mothers or whether they've been mothers for a couple decades. But really the commonality is that they're they're in it to win it in their business. They, for lack of a better cliche, they really are like super passionate about growing their business. They want to build a purpose-driven business, something that, really makes an impact and fulfills them, and allows them to live in a purpose of really helping people in whatever manner that sort of manifests in, what products or services that they're offering. But ultimately, the commonality is that they're really passionate about their business. They really want to grow and they want to learn. And that's what kind of threads them all together.
Before we get into Facebook and how it could have a positive impact on let's say, animal rescue organizations, you want to tell us about your two lovely birds?
Yeah. So I was telling Harold that like this is at least the podcast that, I will get a giant smile and a nod when I say, hey, the birds might be chirping in the background.
That's right.
Every other one, I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So we have two parrots. One is a sun conure. Her name is Sammy, and we've had her for almost 9 years now. And then we have a brown-headed parrot, Charlie, and we've had him for about 5 years. So they were our first kids. And truthfully, I've always loved animals. I've always really felt pretty connected to animals. But when we first got Sammy, that was my first quote unquote pet as an adult. And it was the first time, truthfully, that I think that I really recognized animals as really these beautiful spiritual beings that I got to be lucky enough to be a part of their lives. You know what I mean?
Always love to hear your own personal animal story. So that's awesome. What to you is the biggest thing people should realize about the impact of Facebook?
Ooh, so number one is that being able to leverage the power of that platform is huge. But number one, because there are so many people, I don't know the exact, statistic on how many people are actually on Facebook and active on Facebook, but there's a huge contingency of people who are just there, and that's where they like to spend their time. And so, as far as like a business, kind of business savviness goes, it's like, well, go where the people already are. And then you can simply make sure that they're seeing what you have to offer or what you're doing. And then those who have an interest in that can come and follow you and come and, follow your story or whatever it is, they can show an interest. And so Facebook is just one of the many platforms that you have available at your fingertips where you have the potential to build an audience and build a community around something that you're really passionate about. Now, that almost sounds counterintuitive to what I'm about to now tell you, which is the power there, though, then becomes all about niching and making sure that you understand that having an impact, especially in the animal rescue and animal loving kind of a space, does not need to mean that you have millions and millions and millions of people looking at what you're doing or following what you're doing. It means that you grow an audience of people one by one. And that's sort of the juxtaposition, but the power of social media is that it gives you access to a ton of people globally, but it also gives you the power to connect really intimately on a one-on-one level with people. And that's, if you understand those two concepts and you can simultaneously market in a long, sort of in a big way, but really use your message to connect on an individual level, then it becomes really powerful to bring people into your story, to bring people, to get them interested in what you're doing and to get them sort of established and loyal to what you have going on.
Just like with your series of being a mom and an entrepreneur, right? When folks are animal rescue people, sometimes they may not have the time to commit to social media. So when it comes to Facebook, try to break it down for us. I mean, what would be sort of a best practice? How do folks, or how can you make it, at least relatively time efficient for the impact you're trying to make?
Okay, so this is going to sort of start out on basic sort of Facebook 101, if you will. So you have a couple of different options on where you want to show up and how you want to show up on Facebook. So just forgive me if you are very familiar with this already, but it is worth the time to be able to understand the difference. So number one, you just by the fact of you having a Facebook account, you have a personal Facebook profile. So that is where all the people who you have connected to, you have considered friends in any sort of way, they get to see what you're doing, right, in your personal life. Then there's this other element called Facebook page. And that's typically where your brand or where your business lives. Okay. So that's a way for your business and your brand. Let's say you actually have an animal rescue shelter, or you have a sanctuary or what have you. That's a place where your brand itself can live and communicate with people who have an interest in following what you as the business are doing. Then you have this other great tool called Facebook events. So that's something that you can leverage, whether it's you personally or your business. You can leverage a Facebook event if you have an event going on, and you can use that to be able to establish, and it can sort of replace, if you really want it to, it can sort of replace, if not be an additional events page, let's say, on a website. So this is a great way to get in front of people who are already on Facebook and say, hey, I've got this event coming up, and you can send out invitations to them. So that's one great tool that you can use. And then you've got this other tool that Facebook offers, which is Facebook groups. And Facebook groups come in a few shapes and sizes, if you will. But the power of Facebook groups is that you can start bringing together you as the individual person on Facebook as Harold, not necessarily as Paw Print, the business page, right? But as Harold, you can bring together the people who are interested in whatever that group is going to be about. And then you get to be the leader of that particular group. And so all of a sudden it becomes kind of a community, kind of like a home for all of those who have a similar interest in what you're doing and what the topic is. They can all convene. They can all come and hang out and start having conversations around certain topics. Nice. Now, I've seen people use Facebook groups in some really cool ways. Like if there's a particular event going on, they've used kind of a Facebook group for that too. Or if there's a particular program that they're doing, they use a group for that. But you can have one that's sort of like evergreen, where it's sort of open. You're part of the Paw Print animal rescue community, and you can be a part of that. So I wanted to explain that, because when you're asking the question of like, hey, I don't have a lot of time, where should I be and how should I be on Facebook and how often do I really need to be there? It really has everything to do with how you want to show up and where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. So if the people in your personal life are very familiar with the fact that you do animal rescue, you're really passionate about rescuing animals, or that you have a sanctuary, you can absolutely post a lot of stuff on your personal profile. So there may or may not be a need to have an additional business page, or to have a Facebook group, or to do events or what have you. But you can just post a lot of stuff on your personal Facebook page, or I'm sorry, on your personal Facebook profile. So one example that I have of this is my good friend Dusty Showers. He's here locally in the Tampa Bay area. And he is just like, he's sort of known as like this animal rescue guy, but animal rescue for like native Florida species. And so a lot of times like possums, and I think he may have even done some gators before.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. Gator, raccoons, squirrels, all those sorts of animals that tend to not be the quote unquote cutie animals, but he rescues them, and he is so passionately in love with these animals. And people know that. And so just because by pure nature of him doing some videos and sharing with you, like on his personal Facebook profile, he will do some videos, he will do some, photos, he'll do whatever and take you along his journey of being an animal rescue guy. So all of a sudden he gets to be known as the guy who does that. So he gets referred a lot locally for when somebody's like, oh my gosh, I have a possum in my yard and they're stuck in the trap. How do I help them? And so Dusty gets referred a lot. So that's just one way that you can show up strategically, but in a time manner that makes sense for you. Doing a Facebook page, I would say, probably takes a little bit more time, just because you don't get as much of a reach with your Facebook page, meaning your business speaking to people without investing dollars in Facebook ads. And so if you don't want to invest dollars in Facebook ads, which, by the way, is a really smart marketing tool, and that's an entirely different conversation, But if you didn't want to do that, if you just sort of wanted to be posting on your page, let's say you had 100 people who liked your page, not all 100 of those people are going to see what you're doing. So you kind of have to think about, where am I going to spend my time? Where am I going to get the most bang for my buck as far as people seeing what I'm doing? And again, you can take this, take that and equation and kind of place yourself in everything. Like a Facebook group is a lot of fun. It's kind of a lot of time to manage, but tends to have the most active and engaged people there, because they have said, I am very interested in this topic and I'm going to be a part of this group and be a part of this conversation. So anytime you're posting anything, for the most part, they're listening. So anyway, they all have their pros and cons. And so for you listening, you really just want to think about, well, how much time do I really have, and where can I be where people will listen about what I'm doing. And I would just always start experimenting with posting on your personal Facebook profile, just to kind of see what's going on.
What do you think is a good mix as far as photos versus just kind of just writing?
Right. So I feel like when you are in an arena that is very visually appealing, like animals, you should optimize the heck out of that. That's not to say that you shouldn't be writing copy and writing stories and things like that. I'll talk about that in just a second. But you should absolutely leverage the power of this thing called social media, this thing called Facebook, that allows people to actually see and experience what you want to share with them. So animals, I'm sure everyone will nod when I say this, animals have personality, and if you can capture those on video, if you can get a little snippet of, a little video of an animal doing something, or, a really cool video of you rescuing a certain animal. That's what my friend Dusty does. Like, he'll take you on a rescue. Or if you want to do a video of after you've rescued a particular animal or a new animal that came into your sanctuary, and you do a little video of them introducing them, basically video and pictures, but video especially, that is sort of like really the wave of where so much social media is going, because we can see things in such a multidimensional way. If you can really capture a story and bring people along for the story, that is super, super powerful. So I would highly recommend you definitely use video, and probably as heavily as you can. And those videos can be completely unedited, like Facebook Live type of videos, which are really cool and powerful, because it gives people the opportunity to interact with you in a live fashion where you could sort of speak to them as you're doing the video. Or they could be pre-recorded videos that, might be a couple of minutes long, might be longer. I don't really know. Or they could be, like edited. You could have them sort of look pretty, meaning you have like an intro and an outro on them. You've got visuals, you've got graphics. You don't have to do any of those things, but those are all different types of videos, and I would just recommend you do whatever is easiest for you and isn't going to, that basically gets you into action as soon as possible. And then you can always tweak and add more stuff to it. Now, photos, gosh, for the animal world, photos are really powerful, because you can capture emotion on the face of an animal. You can capture that in a photo really well. And if, like, Harold, I'm looking at your Facebook profile right now with your beautiful background of your puppy, and it says paw print, and I see his eyes, and
right.
And that's so powerful. So if you want to communicate how amazing and what amazing beings these animals are that you are representing and that you're helping, you can capture some great photos. But here's a twist that I would use. Don't just share the photo, like, tell a story about that animal through the photo. Harold, I think I mentioned this before in the last interview that I was on, which was the oh my goodness, now I can't remember which one it was, but one of I think it was like the Suncoast.
Yeah, I think
Animal
it was
Rescue.
Suncoast, right, Animal Rescue.
Okay, so what they do really well, and I've seen quite a few people do this. What they do really well is they will tell a story, like literally, it feels like you're reading like a mini novel about that particular animal. So it's like, hey, here's this dog Joe, and here's what happened to Joe, and here's what Joe is doing now, and here's the progression of Joe since he's been with us. So you can use storytelling very powerfully, not only in writing and then accompanied by a photo that really helps bring that home. And you can use that story writing not just to explain that, but you can use that storytelling to ask for help. With the Suncoast Sanctuary, I remember vividly. Like, they told this really great story about this dog and how they really needed this dog to be brought down from, I think, Mississippi. He was found in Mississippi. And it, like, one of their followers was like, oh, well, I have a plane and I can absolutely go up there and fly it, because the dog was really, really frail. And like, that happened just because they were sharing stories and what was needed. So those are all really powerful ways. And, so I am also a part of a couple of Facebook groups for birds. Like, I'm a part of a Facebook group for sun conure lovers. And so there are so many pictures of sun conure owners with their sun conures, with their parrots. And so you get so inspired, or, people will go on there and tell stories about their sun conure. So those pictures, all of those things really help in helping to tell a story and helping to get your point across on, ultimately, the people who are listening to this podcast, they all really want to help animals, Harold. And so it's like, okay, how can I use media? How can I use pictures? How can I use stories? How can I use videos to basically draw people in and get them to care about what I care about?
Even nowadays, Facebook will advertise on TV, on huge billboards, Facebook Live. So what would the difference be for that person new to Facebook between just regular video that you're recording on your iPhone versus Facebook Live?
So Facebook Live is really powerful, I believe, because it's raw. And we're sort of in a space right now where people really appreciate raw, and they don't want it to be perfect and beautiful and perfectly lit and, edited to perfection. Like, although that absolutely exists, there is a huge contingent that still should be a part of your toolbox as far as how you can, get people's attention. But people really like the raw. And so what a Facebook Live video allows you to do is literally take your phone into wherever you are. And as long as you've got some sort of a, internet connection, you can be doing a live video showing people in real time what you're doing. And then that gets shared wherever you're sharing it. So if that's on your Facebook page that you're sharing it with, if it's within your group, if it's within your personal profile, it will get, it's going live there. And again, the power of that is that people can interact with you in real time. So you might say, like, Harold, I don't know if you ever remember, I don't know if this still exists because I don't actually listen to radio anymore, but there was this day and age back in my high school days where it was a big deal to like call into the radio station.
Yes.
And you would wait, on the phone on hold for like 30, 40 minutes, and you would finally get on and you would be able to say something. And then it'd be a big deal. You'd go tell all of your friends because you would hear yourself on the radio, and or the DJ would like give you a shout out, right, on live air. Facebook Live is sort of like that. That's why people that's probably a subconscious cool thing that people who are watching you live get to experience. So like they get to put in comments. So the way that people can interact with you doing a Facebook Live is that they can start commenting on your video. They can give you likes. They can give you little hearts, little, laughing faces or what have you. Make sure that they know that that they are there. And then what you could do to engage them, which is really the goal of the whole video, what you can do to engage them is just to say, oh, hey, Harold, I see you're jumping on. Cool. Hey, yes. If you have a question for me, let me know. But here's my dog, Joe. And, here's the story about him. And here's where he lives and all that sort of stuff. And people can start asking you questions live that you can answer in that video. Or you could just give shout outs to people who are on the live feed who are there, and you see that they come on and you can give shout outs to them. And it's sort of that same giddy experience as when you called into the radio show when you were a kid. So it's really powerful because it's raw and it allows you to share in real time something that's going on, and you can give people an insight into your sanctuary, your rescue, your animal life, and they can sort of see the inside. And this is sort of like the new evolution of like reality TV. and people really love that. They love that it's real. They love that there's you're allowing them into something that's so important to you, and they want to engage with you there.
And actually, I'll just add 3 quick examples of where I think Facebook Live really does help animal rescue organizations. One is, and he does drive, well, I don't think he drives through Florida, but Greg Maley is well known as a truck driver. He'll pick up dogs in southern states, warm weather states, and then drive them thousands of miles to the Northeast where they have less overcrowded situations. And so a volunteer will simply turn on Facebook Live, and it's what they call gotcha day. That's when he delivers the dogs out of the truck to the actual individual families. I mean, the engagement, as you say, is outrageous. It's like literally people are saying, I'm watching this video and I'm in tears.
Yeah.
Like this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And within it doesn't even have to be live, right? Even within a 24-hour period, people will just watch and rewatch those videos. Wings of Rescue is a Southern California-based, kind of a similar thought, but using airplanes. They'll fly dogs and cats from warm weather states, same thing, to usually Pacific Northwest. And same thing, when the plane leaves and when the plane arrives at the airport, they'll do Facebook Lives of that. And same thing, just wonderful engagement. And then the third example would be Marley's Mutts. Marley's Mutts has a really dynamic leader. His name is Zach Scow. He actually has an interesting story because he actually almost died due to alcoholism. So he has a really interesting life story. But with that said, he'll do Facebook Live. Now, his are more different. One, literally the guy, he's just a really good-looking, charismatic guy. So he'll do more of a selfie view, right, where he's talking directly into the camera about one dog that he wants to highlight. And same thing, just tons of engagement. So thanks for sharing that, because I just wanted to just highlight 3 different animal rescue organizations kind of doing somewhat similar, but somewhat in some ways some different things. And the great thing about Facebook Live, you can watch it over and over again. And another thing, as you mentioned, it alerts all your followers that you are on, which is kind of a neat thing. So really brings up that visibility. Anybody else doing anything kind of really clever? I mean, it does not have to be animal related. Anybody doing anything that's just really has kind of been memorable to you?
There's so many great things right now. I would just say, as a kind of a general statement, is that when it comes to really using Facebook for what your intentions are and being able to bring light onto what you're doing to help the animals that you're helping, it is a giant experiment. I mean, what works for somebody may not work for somebody else. And so, you just kind of got to go out there and start trying stuff. And what I always tell the people who really impress me are the ones who will just get on and try. So, get out of your head all the like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm not wearing makeup, so I don't think I could get on Facebook Live, or I don't know if I'm holding the camera right, so I'm just not going to do it. There are so many people who, again, we're talking about just connecting to the individual in an intimate way. And when you realize that something like a Facebook Live can do that so well, then you just got to show up and practice. And so, the ones that, again, are impressing me are the ones who have just started and they're figuring it out. And you could tell they're figuring it out. But that's how everyone needs to start. Like, we just figure it out. I mean, the Suncoast Animal Rescue did not start out very savvy. Dusty Showers did not start out very savvy, but he kept practicing and he kept seeing what worked and what didn't work. And so some of the cool things that I've seen are, this is just sort of top of mind, my friend Tyler Sheff, he's a real estate investor. He has a podcast called Cash Flow Guys. And he does something where he does a live Q&A session about real estate. So you could come to his live, coffee chat with Cash Flow Guys. And it's, I believe, every Friday you go and opt in to be a part of that. And then during that live session, it broadcasts over all these platforms. So it broadcasts live to his Facebook page, his Facebook personal profile, into his groups, onto YouTube, I believe, onto Periscope. And so that's kind of leveraging the power of tools and technology to be able to do something once and do it well and get it all across a bunch of different platforms. And so, you might have people who are interested in what you're doing and want to help, but they're just not on Facebook, or they're not on Facebook at that time. And so or maybe they're super active in a group that you have, but they're rarely ever, they don't see what's going on your page. So if there's one piece of advice that I could give, it's like just number one, start and practice and do it. And not doing it well is better than not doing it. Like, doing it imperfectly is better than not doing it at all. So, but once you sort of get your feet underneath you, then see how you could do a piece of content once, do a video once and share it on multiple platforms in an automated way. Or if it's a photo, like see if you could do things to have people share the photo. See if you could be creative about, having a contest where you'll donate X amount of dollars to the rescue or whatever it is if people go and share this X amount of time. So there's a lot of contests are huge, and there's such a great idea to get people involved and interested in what you're doing and active and sharing stuff for you. So that's kind of the name of the game with social media. It's not just you putting stuff out there and people watching or listening. It's like, how can they share your message? So you always want to think about that. Like if I'm putting this out there, how can I get people to go share this if it means something to them so that we get a bigger reach? Truthfully, number one is just to start and keep moving and keep experimenting. Wow. I've had a Facebook group for over 3 years now, and I continue to experiment with it. Like I get that I will never be a quote unquote master of Facebook groups, that it's the dynamic in there is constantly changing. Things that I did in there 3 years ago don't work now. So now I need to I'm constantly evolving and experimenting with what does work. I have a couple different Facebook groups and they all have different personalities. So it's a constant experiment. And if you're willing to accept that that's what this is going to be, and you just got to have fun with it and figure it out. And when you feel something that hits and that works, go with it. Just go with it until it doesn't. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game.
We're talking to Katie Krimitsos of the Biz Women Rock podcast. If you think she's excited now, wait till you actually hear her on her podcast. She will turn the energy level up in your household very high. So with that said, how do folks find you, Katie?
The best way to be able to connect with me is to go to bizwomenrock.com and you can opt in and you'll get a personal invitation to our free private group. It is just for business women. However, just being able to get on the email list is a great way to just keep in great communication with me. And you can obviously go find me on Facebook. So connect with me personally. I would love to know you. And if there's any questions that you guys have, I'm here and available for you.
And how often are your podcasts available?
Go live once a week, typically on Mondays. And it's either a certain, topic that we're zoning in on, whether it's like mompreneurship or podcasting or vlogging or what have you, or it's just kind of general interviews with women about a particular topic. So whether it's finances or one element of growing your business, anything like that. So you can catch that wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Biz Women Rock.
What does the rest of 2017 look like for Katie?
Oh my gosh. So if I have a lot of say in it, so it means a lot of growth for my business. It's so fun. Like I have found that fun, sweet spot in my business after I had my daughter, and I finally kind of wrapped my head around how I can continue to grow this community of great business women and do that in a way that, builds up my business, provides value for them. I'm really in this fun, sweet spot where I'm just enjoying the business growth and constantly experimenting with it and constantly putting out fun new things and constantly seeing how I can provide value for them and connecting them in better ways. So for me, 2017 is full of serious, totally big, breaking through every boundary type of growth in the business, and really just continuing to have fun as a mother. There might be some more kids involved in the near future. So
hint.
Yeah, hint. So I'm just having so much fun. I'm a really lucky lady. I have such an amazing life, and it's it's challenging, but nothing that's worthwhile ever comes easy. So I'm really loving it.
Well, really, last question, which is someone's listening to this, they're completely inspired, but maybe a little overwhelmed, right? I mean, there's a lot to learn, even from something as something that everybody uses every day, which is Facebook. What would be maybe that 1 or 2 steps you would encourage someone to take on Facebook?
Yeah, so great question. I think the most immediate thing that you can do is just to start something. Commit to one thing, trying one thing out and doing it. And I'll give you this example. So one lady who's a member of my community, she's actually a member of my paid membership community, the Biz Women Rock Elite. Her name is Mickey, and she knew that she's been hearing all this stuff about Facebook Live, and she was terrified, and she ended up starting. Oh man, it's like Wine at 5, I think it's called, and I think it's a daily live video that she does, and she's talking about her area of interest and her topic, and But she just started it. She had no expectation. She was not attached to the outcome. She just started it and was consistent with it. And she gets like anywhere between like 200 and 400 people watching that video, which is significant. So my recommendation is just to start, like, try, if there's any one thing in here that gave you an inspiration or that got you excited, just try it and try it consistently for a little while and see how it goes and see what you learn. And kind of stick to it for a little while. Give yourself a month or so just to play around with it and see what happens. So whether that's sharing a video on your profile, whether that's saying, hey, every Wednesday I'm going to share a picture here, or, just whatever that is, just start doing something and commit to it, for a little while just to see how it goes. And then follow up kind of step 2 would be digging deeper. When you are in there for a while and you see what's working, what's not, get creative, listen to the feedback and try to get creative on how to get. Always ask yourself, how can I get more people interested? How can I get more people engaged who are already interested? And how can I get them to share? Those are sort of like the 3 layers of social media marketing, if you will. So constantly ask yourself that question. So I would just say start, try it, and keep moving.
We want to say thank you to Katie Krimitsos for sharing her story. If you want to learn more about Biz Women Rock, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/127. If you want to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can find us on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, so many places to find us. Type in Paw Print Animal Rescue, and when you find us, make sure to hit the subscribe button to get the latest episodes immediately. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Look for our handle, which is simply This Is Paw Print, all one word. We just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing Paw Print with your friends and family. We just passed the 75,000 download mark, which is incredible for something as simple as animal rescue, and we couldn't have done it without your support. And remember, you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You get it?